In this video, we're going to be talking about class perspectives without explaining what classes are. Please check out the What is Social Class video for any confusions. Rap beefs. Two people writing poetry about how much they hate each other. And rap history is full of classic beefs.
These hoes don't be mad at Megan. These hoes mad at Megan's law. I don't really know what the problem is, but I guarantee y'all want me to start.
Listen very close, cause I don't say this every day. My name is Roxanne, and they call me Shantae. But every time of that I say I rhyme, I just like a disser. It ain't nothing to your MCs when I miss it.
Looking like straight bozos. I saw it coming, that's why I went solo and kept on stomping. While y'all motherfuckers move straight out of Compton.
Fuck with your soul like ether. Teach you the king, you know you. Godson across the belly. I prove you lost already.
Fuck your bitch in the clique you claim. West side when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife. We bust on bad boys, niggas fuck for life. Plus,
And now we can add the beef between Drake and Kendrick.
And it's clearly because of the boy. The honorable thing is to give me the loot. You right about fuck the big three. It's only Big D and it's video proof. Our son should go play at the park. Two light-skinned kids, the shit will be cute. Unless you don't wanna be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you. We get it, we got it.
Art forms have always been used to express disagreements, but rap is specifically well suited as it's always been about using clever wordplay to show how you're better than other people and especially other rappers. Back in the day, this was the whack MC, the duck MC, fake MC, and oftentimes more than one MC.
I take 7 MCs, put them in a line, and add 7 more brothers who think they can rhyme. Well, it'll take 7 more before I go for mine. Now that's 21 MCs ate up at the same time.
So what's the communist perspective on rap beefs? They're entertaining, but they also teach us many things about the people involved, and more importantly, about the way society responds to the beef. What is the political assessment? A beef is educational and provides enjoyment. Which form of contradiction? Ooh-wee! When will you ever learn? We can never escape contradictions. People enjoy learning. It's hard to learn when you're bored, but when we enjoy something, we also learn something. About what we enjoy, about ourselves, about the world. And look, all classes in this society demand entertainment. And when you see how millions of people are trying to break down what is going on, we see that people aren't just trying to shut down their brains, they're trying to learn. The problem is that the Drake and Kendrick beef does not provide the education people think it provides. And when one of the tasks of communists is to educate the working class, that's a pretty big deal. So let's talk basic framework. How do we even analyze this thing? Well, it's rap. It's artistic expression. In a Talks at the Yan'an Forum, Mao differentiates between political and artistic criteria when we criticize art. So let's look at the artistic criteria first. The Drake and Kendrick beef has delivered us songs of an incredibly high technical caliber. I mean, to be honest, even Drake's ghostwriters have been working overtime and pushing forward some pretty funny lines.
We call that shit a mini Drake. He always said I overlooked him, I was staring straight. These bars go over Kenny head no matter what I say. I know you like to keep it short, so let me paraphrase.
This is what we'd expect of a diss. Clever punchlines, short jokes, some character assassinations through half-truths and obvious lies. Rap beef. So that's Drake. And then there's Kendrick.
You raised a horrible fucking person. The nerve of you, Dennis. Sandra, sit down. What I'm about to say is heavy. Now listen. Your son's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think niggas like him should die.
This is not like Rakim eating up MCs. This is an actual death, combined with revealing new information, like how Drake has hit a second child. Or as a hilarious YouTube comment said, a second OVO child has hit the towers. Or this tweet, if I had a nickel for every time a devastating banger diss track came out against Drake, revealed the secret child he was hiding from the world, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I mean, the fact that Pusha T bullied Drake through a rap song into publicly accepting his child is wild. We really do live in a bourgeois society. So these allegations are what have received the most media attention, which is surprising when you look at the rest of the song, which alleges Drake has been having sex with minors and basically supported sex trafficking. Yeah, this tweet did not age well. Kendrick said, "You're a sexual predator, you support trafficking of minors, and have a second child." Drake responded with, "I don't have a second child." In terms of artistic criteria, Kendrick has elevated the bourgeois form of dissing, a form which centers bravado and rap skills over political lines, which encourages competition for competition's sake, but also centers the vehicles through which we deliver these attacks, rather than the attacks themselves. Kendrick has flipped this formula and centered a series of songs in a carefully coordinated character assassination. This is very much about the attacks, and not so much about the vehicle through which it's delivered. He even included dramatic build-up and foreshadowing.
No, this a fringe fade, you should keep it that way. I know some shit about niggas that make gonna wanna look like a saint.
He did know some shit, and revealed it only after Drake responded. Truly, the technical level is remarkable. Rap as an art form judges an MC by his versatility. While there's much respect for an MC pulling off one thing and pulling it off well, there's nothing like someone who can do it all. In hip-hop, there's always a quest for a renaissance man. And I'm not using that phrase lightly, as you'll see. Kendrick has shown this versatility in terms of flow, cadence, and enunciation too.
For real, for him, I inherit the beef. Yeah, fuck all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T. You better off spinning again on him. You think about pushing me. He's tearing
humor with depth.
First one like my last one. It's a classic. You don't have one. Let your core audience stomach that. Then tell them where you get your abs from.
And humor with a punch.
Like a bitch, ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
We should always strive for higher and higher artistic forms. Kendrick has released a series of songs with a diversity of moods, showcasing different technical capabilities, attacking Drake, and attempted to connect these attacks to deeper societal trends. But the question is, what are these technical developments being used for? A diss is a bourgeois form of art in the way that it highlights form over content. The beat and how things are said are more important than what is being said. And of course, both are important. When you say the right things in appealing ways, you win. But if you say the right thing and it doesn't sound good, while the other person says things that are but do sound good, the latter person wins, which ultimately is a bourgeois outlook, which brings us to the political criteria. Is the contradiction between Drake and Kendrick Lamar a contradiction amongst the people, or an antagonistic contradiction? How about the relationship between the working class and Drake and Kendrick? Mao talked about how there's a difference between contradictions between the people and antagonistic contradictions.
The People's Democratic Dictatorship uses two methods. Towards the enemy, it uses the method of dictatorship. That is, for as long a period of time as is necessary, it does not permit them to take part in political activity and compels them to obey the law of the people's government, to engage in labor, and through such labor be transformed into new men. Towards the people, on the contrary, it uses the method of democracy, and not of compulsion. That is, it must necessarily let them take part in political activity and does not compel them to do this or that, but uses the method of democracy to educate and persuade. Such education is self-education for the people, and its basic method is criticism and self-criticism.
A rap beef is not crit-self-crit, nor is it a democratic way of struggling between ideas. The issue is that rap beefs are actually rarely about political lines. They're about bourgeois personas clashing. It's a clash between brands. Kendrick might have a more progressive world outlook than Drake, but is that really what's at stake here? The beef is basically a contradiction within the bourgeoisie. Remember, Drake's net worth is $250 million. Kendrick's at least over 75. And most rap beefs play out this way. It's baked into the bourgeois form. And here, the exception proves the rule, like Boogie Down Productions' Build and Destroy, which despite its limitations, still tries to override the form.
The white man ain't the devil, I promise. You wanna see the devil, take a look at Clarence Thomas. Now you're saying who? Like you were owl, throw in the towel. The devil is Colin Powell. You talk about being African and being black. Colin Powell's black, but Libya he'll attack. Libya's in Africa, but a black man will lead a black man to fight against his homeland.
But there's a reason why the beef between BDP and X-Clan doesn't have that much notoriety. The closest that rap beefs come to a progressive world outlook is when they discuss sellouts. But it's rare that this process goes into any societal depth other than you wanted money, so now you're no longer making pure hip-hop. And even this accusation tends to be a backdrop for more personal jabs. With Nas and Jay-Z, the beef started with Nas never showing up to a Bring It On studio session, Nas talking smack about Jay-Z's car, and it kinda just continued from there. Tupac got robbed by Haitian Jack and thought Big was behind it and had set him up. This has important political considerations. During the Cultural Revolution in China, due to the immaturity of the working class, a lot of political discussions broke out in factionalism, which were often not about political differences. So we have to get really good at analyzing what's purely personal disagreement and what's about political line. So in order to have a strong political assessment of the beef between Drake and Kendrick, we need to look at the political ideas that are being put forward and the class nature of these ideas. So what is the class analysis of this beef? It's ultimately a struggle between bourgeois decadence and bourgeois humanism, which is different than the way it's presented, which is pretty much pedophile, sex trafficking, garbage human beings sellout versus conscious lyrical rapper who's not a pedophile. Even though, of course, these ideas are connected to decadence and humanism. Kendrick helps to set up this framework too in Euphoria.
I make music that electrify 'em. You make music that pacify 'em. I can double
This juxtaposes music that's predominantly entertainment, Drake, and predominantly educational or moral, Kendrick. This already hides the first element. They're both commercially hugely successful artists. The same song, Euphoria, was the most streamed rap song in a day of all time. But moving beyond this fake juxtaposition, the key question we actually should be asking is, does Kendrick promote a proletarian worldview or a bourgeois worldview? Now you might say, how can you expect Kendrick to have a proletarian worldview? Then I'd say, how can you expect me as a communist to not continuously clarify the difference between a bourgeois worldview and a proletarian worldview? Thank you. Now what is a proletarian worldview? Let's see what Lenin has to say about it.
Working class consciousness cannot be genuine political consciousness unless the workers are trained to respond to all cases of tyranny, oppression, violence, and abuse, no matter what class is affected, unless they are trained, moreover, to respond from a communist point of view and no other. The consciousness of the working masses cannot be genuine class consciousness unless the workers learn from concrete and above all from topical political facts and events to observe every other social class in all the manifestations of its intellectual, ethical, and political life. Unless they learn to apply and practice the materialist analysis and the materialist estimate of all aspects of the life and activity of all classes, strata, and groups of the population.
The bar is high, Lenin, damn. But this is exactly why this differentiation is important. Does Kendrick do this? When he speaks of the oppression of women, does he do so from a proletarian feminist perspective, tying the oppression of women to class society, and how revolution is the answer, and how that ties to a proletarian, or petty bourgeois, or bourgeois perspective? Or does he say women need to be respected while using derogatory terms towards them and making homophobic comments about Drake? Okay, alright. I know it's harsh, because Kendrick is putting forward at least some progressive politics, right? Well, yeah, but progressive isn't the same as communist. Kendrick's music predominantly represents bourgeois humanism. Now, bourgeois humanism puts man forward as an ahistorical abstraction, detached from society, who has all these inalienable rights. All men were created equal. This doesn't look at how people are shaped by what they do in their society. This bourgeois point of view was progressive compared to feudalism. All men were created equal is much better than, I'm a king because God said so, and you're a serf because God said so. But of course we know all men were created equal is bullshit. It's equal in form but unequal in essence. I mean, this shit was written by slave owners, for God's sake. The bourgeoisie always goes halfway. Its class project was never able to emancipate all people from oppression and exploitation. And so when bourgeois humanism puts forward, anybody can become anything they want if they're a morally good person, if they have faith and love in humanity, and you look around society today, that's a disgusting thing to say. That's no love for mankind. That's love for bourgeois man. That's a circle jerk. Your racist neighbor might not see color, and a bourgeois humanist does not see class. That's exactly what Kendrick puts forward in Meet the Grams.
Cause our children is the future, but he lives inside confusion. Money's always been illusion, but that's the life he's used to. His father probably didn't claim him neither. History do repeats itself, sometimes it don't need a reason. But I would like to say it's not your fault that he's hiding another child. Give him grace, this the reason I made Mr. Morale, so our babies like you can cope later. Give you some confidence to go through something, it's hope later. I never want to hear you chasing man, cause it's felt behavior. Sitting in the club with sugar daddies for validation. You need to know that love is eternity and trumps all pain. I tell you who your father is, just play this song when it rains. Yes, he's a...
Kendrick here sees generational divides mainly as moral divisions. Drake, mainly due to Drake's father's shortcomings, is morally corrupt. It is thus up to us to teach the next generation the right morals so society can improve. It's an idealist conception. Improve the ideas of people first, and then we change society. Rather than changing society through revolution, to at a large scale change people's ideas. But there's more. Bourgeois humanism contains bourgeois decadence. The bourgeoisie scolds injustice, but puts individualism forward as the answer. The bourgeoisie talks about injustice in the world over lavish dinners and during lavish parties. Kendrick's Crown of Thorns is worth $3 million. How is that not bourgeois decadence? The man is a millionaire, comparing his suffering to Jesus. How is that not bourgeois decadence? And Drake's bourgeois decadence is mixed with humanism too. He gave away $1 million in the God's Plan video, the message being with a bit of help, anybody can make it in this society. And then he goes to sex parties with minors. Allegedly. The issue we see here is that Drake and Kendrick are two sides of the same bourgeois coin, that you can't have bourgeois humanism without bourgeois decadence, and can't have bourgeois decadence without bourgeois humanism. Kendrick stands out to us because he has always been open about his internal contradictions and his shortcomings. And how much a dollar cost, he didn't give $1 to a homeless man who ended up being Jesus, and then he lost his spot in heaven. It's a contradiction between his spiritual needs and material needs, which doesn't get resolved by the end of this song. He's still just as conflicted, and his net worth grows. In Savior, he puts forward this point very directly.
The cat is out the bag, I am not your savior. I find it just as difficult to love thy neighbors, especially when people got ambiguous favors, but their heart's not in it, see everything's for the paper. The struggle for the right side of history. Independent thought is like an eternal enemy. Capitalist posing as compassionate be offending me. Yeah, suck my dick with authenticity. Yeah, Tupac dead, gotta think for yourself. Yeah, heroes looking for the villains to help. I never been sophisticated, same face. Being manipulative, such a required taste. I rubbed elbows with people that was for the people. They all greedy, I don't care for no public speaking. And they like to wonder where I've been, protecting my soul in the valley of silence.
Capitalists posing as compassionate, bad. People for the people, greedy and bad. The more albums Kendrick makes about his unresolvable internal contradiction, the more his net worth will grow. And it's a lie. We can solve these contradictions by aligning ourselves with the proletariat and our class struggle against the bourgeoisie. If you can't resolve your contradictions, you'll keep going back and forth between decadence and self-pity, self-aggrandizement and self-annihilation. And when that's the center of your artistic career, you have a financial incentive not to resolve those contradictions. Our question then isn't to refute what Kendrick is criticizing, but is to present a proletarian criticism of these questions rather than a bourgeois one. In swimming pools, alcoholism is mainly presented as an issue of peer pressure. The issue isn't that this isn't true or doesn't happen, but it doesn't give us the full picture of how alcohol functions in class society, how it's a tool of pacification of the working class. It only goes halfway, even though the first half is still based on truth. And that's how Kendrick gets away with being seen as a rapper of the people, rather than still promoting a bourgeois worldview. But how do we connect this to people? Do we say, hey, Kendrick is wrong about all this stuff? No. It's great that there's music that gets people to think about these questions, but we have to take it on ourselves to deepen these conversations. Is Kendrick wrong in criticizing Drake's bourgeois decadence and his sex parties with Clinton and Weinstein? Absolutely not. Can the bourgeoisie criticize itself? It absolutely can. Is this different than a proletarian criticism? I mean, I hope you get the point at this point. Yes, absolutely. Us communists need to unite with the criticisms that are correct and place it in a proper class context. Kendrick is not going to do that for us. The bourgeoisie is not going to do that for us. Bourgeois humanism leads to some intense, painful internal contradictions. I want to change society for the better, but who am I? I'm just going to make some Cash App commercials.
You could have 2 barbershops, you could have 10 businesses if you know how to compound.
Basically, bro, what he's saying is slow money wins the race. You can still have a big upside even if you don't throw all your chips in the bag. Invest in yourself, leave them dice alone. You don't need to invest in the dice. That's gonna ruin everything. Spread your money out, let it build for yourself and work gradually, slowly. Anybody that's ever made a lot of money didn't make it fast, you feel me?
This mirrors the approach of woke CEOs like Cash App CEO Jack Dorsey. I want to change the world, but within the profit motive incentive. This is so hard and painful. Let me wipe my tears on these dollar bills. And their net worth grows. How much money has been made from this beef? Where does all this money from all these streams go to? To the people or to the pockets of the bourgeoisie? What has this beef done for the political consciousness of the masses? Does it help the working class realize its exploitation and help to strengthen the fight against the oppressors? To clarify the task of revolution? No. In fact, it did the opposite. And that can be a bitter pill to swallow, but we live in a capitalist society, and capitalist society will produce capitalist culture. So if we go on a quest to figure out whether the hottest new trend or happening supports the bourgeoisie or the proletariat, we shouldn't be surprised when it supports a bourgeois world outlook. But we need to be thorough in how we expose these things, to unite with the positive and expose the bourgeois nature of ideas that are being put forward. We have to understand the struggles of the bourgeoisie and the working class are not the same. We do not wear a $3 million crown of thorns. And some of us will just give out $1 when someone asks for it. We are not the bourgeoisie, and we can be entertained by their battles, especially because their battle is not our battle.